Vinland Saga greatness just delivered, I would say, the most savage kill that we've seen, at least in Season 2. But man, when you corner a man who feels like a caged animal who will do whatever it takes to see his family again, you're just asking to get your throat bit and voice box completely splattered on the ground. And holy, between that and the conversation with Einar and Thorfinn about kind of rekindling that spark, how can you realistically create a world without war and slaves? Well, from slaves' point of view, if there's less wars, there's less slaves. But even if you create a village, which Thorfinn's saying that's enough, well, how are you going to protect him? Feels like a fool's dream. And then we tie back to the beginning of Season 1 where we have that story about there's a land where Vikings can't get to, where you can grow your crops, where peace is there. And it's like, holy utopia, here we come, as they just remind us that, oh wait, Utopia's so far away and Snake's pretty much on a path of war right now. The worst thing about the entire thing that happened with Snake's forces, he lost about 4 guards there, is we know King Canute's coming. They were already severely outnumbered, and as much of a one-man army as Snake can be, only human, he can't do it himself, so he's not only down men, he's probably going to be down more men by the time this whole ordeal's done. And honestly, the fighting chance they might have had is pretty much up in smoke now. Now, full live reaction is available on my Patreon. Honestly, when the first half of this episode ended, I thought the episode was over. This literally felt like 2 incredible episodes all in one. So yeah, if you want to see my full uncut thoughts, head on over there and consider supporting. I love this episode. But yeah, first things first, that throat kill. I love the fact that when you have a character like Snake, who is arguably one of the more compassionate characters in this show, some people might want to say, no, he's a murderer, he's a psycho, but no, like, Snake is the type of guy who obeys rules. He follows the rules to the book. However, he's not heartless. He knows that, hey, like, I understand this woman who wants to see her husband, don't do anything stupid. I understand how you feel, but we have rules to follow, don't be an idiot. He cares about people, especially his men, which is most likely why he went completely off the rails at the end, and we saw a side of him we really haven't seen before. And to have someone like Gardar, who just wants to be with his wife and kid, still is unaware of what happened to his child, but his wife's here, so he's under the assumption the kid's just around the corner. The fact that during a conversation where she was going to tend to his wounds, it came down to her breaking down and crying. A husband completely went into pharaoh mode, and the one guard who is decent to her this entire episode gets his throat ripped out by his teeth, as then off screen he apparently kills the rest and they escape. This was insane, and I am so excited, if not terrified, to see where the future of the show's going, because with another 9 episodes left to go, you would assume, okay, even if we deal with Gardar, who probably is dying, I mean, Ardit as well, she probably is dying too, but at the same time, I don't know. She's the favorite, so I don't know how that works out. But Einar was pretty much okay not moving because he realized that there's nothing he can do, but knowing that they're now on the run most likely means that Einar is probably going to get roped into this, and I swear to God, my boy better make it, because I don't know what they're doing to me anymore. The way Gramps passes out on the bed, we can't tell if that's his death blow, if that's just him going to sleep. Snake's on a warpath, he'll cut down anyone who gets in his way. It's just not a good time to be these characters, and honestly, the boss hasn't even come back to the lands yet to deliver the final blow that King Canute's coming, and he's gonna decimate our entire lands. I mean, at this point, all you want to do is you want to go with Thorfinn. You want to get on a boat, you want to sail that direction and say, where's that peaceful land everyone's talking about, because this ain't fun right now. But I really like the second half with the conversation because it's just 2 men talking. And, you know, for Thorfinn, he's killed more than pretty much anyone he's probably going to meet in a long time. It may not look like it because he's just a slave working on a farm, but he admits to it. He's haunted by the amount of people he's killed, the amount of villages he's burned down, and he's not oblivious to the fact that he's committed evil atrocities, and he wants to atone. So what can he do? He needs to build more homes than he's ever burned. He needs to grow more wheat than he'll ever consume or stomp on. There's so many little things he can do, but he recognizes, like, I don't have the answer. I know what I want to do. I want to make a world that's peaceful. And at this point, I could settle for a village if I could give someone a place where they don't need swords. But Einar brings up, how would you defend that? And he doesn't have the answer, but it doesn't change the fact that that's what he wants to do. And the idea of tying it back to that legend from Season 1 that Leif kind of like brought up and said, hey, there's this land, you set sail, it's beautiful, it's peaceful, they'll never get to it. It's like, it's no wonder he wants that. For the longest time, I figured the direction they would try to go, which it's still possible they might, is that someone like Thorfinn would try to be an advisor to a very powerful person and try to lead them down a more peaceful path. And maybe they could go that direction. Canute is coming. Is it possible he'll end up on his side at some point? I don't know. But nonetheless, the grander goal, it makes a lot of sense given how the first season kind of brought up that legend to begin with. And for someone like Einar, I love the fact that, you know, initially when you get introduced to what should be his love interest of the season, they quickly remind you that life isn't a story, right? That realistically, someone magically falling in love with someone or thinking that's the woman he wants to be with doesn't mean it's going to work out that way. She already had a husband. She already was the master's sex slave, right? The fact remains that he is just a man who wants to help someone he cares about, and he has no part in this romance story whatsoever. The romance story is a husband that's been long forgotten and brought back, and her slave owner, who she is literally his favorite slave. Like, it is insane to see the direction they've taken the story and characters, and this is Vinland Saga through and through. Between the brutal flashbacks, between the visualization of Thorfinn being haunted by his demons, everything about this season, I am so glad they continuously, like the director, if you follow them on Twitter, like for like the past couple of years, there would always be these posts being like, you know, apologies, I wish we could give this to you sooner, but we're still tilling the lands, we're making sure this is a quality production, and we're 15 episodes into season 2, and yeah, it is a quality production. It's great when a studio, a production committee, lets a director and their team have a vision and let it feel polished and refined, not rush it out, because Vinland Saga is a perfect example of what a 2-core anime production should look like if you give them the time and resources needed. Meaning that as long as we continue to be passionate about this show, just like the production committee is, season 3 is probably going to be just as amazing. And honestly, while season 2 is different than season 1, it still feels like Vinland Saga through and through, and it is a masterpiece. Between shows like To Your Eternity or Vinland Saga, which each arc feels vastly different than the previous, I love how the authors in those shows or manga series, basically, they just have a vision that is so different. Like, the initial starting points of shows like these, you say, okay, lots of mangas will come out and make a story like this, but to evolve it in the way that they realistically have with so many of these characters, and just the idea of having a king doing whatever it takes bloodshed-wise to get to his path of paradise, where you have Thorfinn on the complete opposite end of the spectrum just believing in a fairy tale, but after the hell he's lived through, who wouldn't want to believe in a fairy tale? Even if he never finds it, is it really bad to believe in something that may not exist if it gives you some sort of peace of mind? Honestly, combine that with his whole newfound path of religion, I mean, it makes a lot of sense, and I'm loving it. Thoughts and feelings yourself though down below. Drop a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new around here, of course ring that bell as well so you can get notified when I upload on the channel, and like I mentioned, we do have that full live reaction available on my Patreon, and while you're there, you can also get a video shoutout. So today, we have a Coconut Gang, the Disabled King, and Daniel Darby. So I appreciate the support, everyone. Please take care and have a good one.